this first game of the West semifinals, the Phoenix Suns have led by as many as 14 points, up by 10 here at halftime. With Hall of Famer Doug Collins, Kevin Harlan, thank you so much for joining us. Doug, the beginning of the game for Steve Nash was spectacular. 17 points the first.
Yeah, Kevin, when we came walking out, I saw Steve and I went over to him and I said, was that on design, by design, that you got off to that great start? And he said, you know, I felt really good. Number one. Number two, I saw a lot of gaps in their defense. And I talked to Chip England, the assistant coach for San Antonio. I said, what didn't you like about that first half? And he said, the way we guarded Steve Nash on the screen roll. So Steve took advantage of that, got a team off to a very, very good start tonight.
Points in the paint were a big story in that first half.
Yeah, when you think of the San Antonio Spurs, you think of their guards in the paint. It's been actually the Phoenix Suns guards in the paint. Steve Nash had 10 in the first quarter. Amari Stoudemire with that quick speed, and he went right by Tim Duncan. Steve Nash, once again in that first half, was sensational getting to the rim. They posted Jason Richardson, and 36 points in the paint for the Phoenix Suns, plus 18. The mid-range game, you see where it is. The Spurs thought they did a nice job chasing the Suns off that three-point line, but also the Spurs were not happy at all with the way they played offense. So let's see if they're much crisper in this second period, this third period here, as they try to get out of the gate a little bit quicker than they did to start this game.
And let's take a look at our Corona stats leaders through one half of basketball. You can see the high scores. Nash had 17, as we said before, in the first quarter. He had 4 in the second.
And interestingly enough, Tony Parker is starting here in this third period instead of George Hill. So it looks like that Greg Popovich feels like he needs to get off to a good start. George Hill got in foul trouble trying to play against Jason Richardson down on the post. So now we'll have to look at the matchup. If Grant Hill guards Manu Ginobili, that's going to put Steve Nash on Parker. Let's see if Parker tries to get Nash involved in a lot of screen rolls here off Duncan to start this period.
Parker and Ginobili. McDyess, Tim Duncan down below. Jefferson, that is the 5 out there for the San Antonio Spurs. Jaron Collins doubles now with Hill on. They swing it to Parker. It goes over Stoudemire. Good way for San Antonio to start the second half.
Yeah, I think what Greg Popovich is doing, he wants Nash to have to work on the defensive end. He had way too much freedom in the first half. So with Parker starting, Nash now has to guard Tony Parker. He cannot guard Ginobili. It's a bad pass. And it's going to be a good start here for the San Antonio Spurs. 4 quick points, and they are right back in this ball game now, down only 6 points.
Nash with his 3rd turnover, Doug. And 7, as Coach told you earlier, in Game 6 in Portland, double teamed inside of Stoudemire. They've got no answer for him down low.
He's got such great confidence right now. After that first half, I think he feels like he could score on anybody in that paint.
Nash and Parker, Stoudemire, McDyess, Ginobili dishing off to McDyess, who knocks it down. He was a big factor in the Spurs winning that first round against Dallas.
Yeah, I was kidding him before the game. I said, what is it with all these Alabama guys? They just start playing in the playoffs. He and Robert Horry has Nash once again. But Robert Horry is a long-time big shot Bob here in San Antonio, winning the championship there with the Spurs. Now it's Antonio McDyess, the star from Alabama, who stepped in and trying to win a championship here.
Ginobili diving his way into Stoudemire. Stoudemire picks up his 2nd. Marty Snyder, what do you have?
Kevin talked to Greg Popovich on his way out of the locker room, and he told me that Tim Duncan's left knee was a little bit more of a scare than anything else. Remember, it was hyperextended towards the end of that quarter, and he's going to be fine in this quarter. But Pop told me what he talked about when you talked about Chip England. He said, we've got to stop Steve Nash. I feel like we should be down by 25 points. He said, we've guarded the 3 terrifically tonight. He said, but if we can stop those penetration baskets, we can still win this game.
There's Manu Ginobili at the free throw line, and chips away a bit at that Phoenix lead, which was as high as 14 points. Just finishing up, Doug, on McDyess. He was so physical in that first series against Dirk Nowitzki in Dallas.
And that was his job, really, to try to make Dirk Nowitzki work as hard as he can. They did not want to double and triple team Nowitzki where he could free up those shooters for the Dallas Mavericks, and he did a nice job. And Dirk was terrific. He had 33 in that Game 6, 25 in the second half. It's just not enough to beat this Spurs team.
Collins a screen. Nash puts down a triple. The screen was on Parker. It's McDyess and now Parker. 2 minutes gone here in the 3rd. Tony Parker over Steve. McDyess saves it, but right back to Nash, who is 11 of 15. Ginobili now on him. Parker's watching him. See if Green tries to cash in. He does. Nice double by Duncan and the Dice, who came in there. Out the other way. Watching the triple on the fly. Off transition, those threes. I know they work for Phoenix. What about the threes off transition for San Antonio?
Well, they really don't shoot them that often. They do not want to get in that kind of game for the Suns, but Manu Ginobili had a great look at that. That's only the second three of the game.
Richardson by Duncan.
That's a bad shot there. It's going to lead to another fast break. It's back-to-back defensive stops, and you know they're going to get in trouble with those kind of shots. Alvin Gentry cannot like those last two possessions, but to take a timeout. And you want to push the pace, but you want to take good shots against the Spurs. They're an opportunistic, fast-breaking team, and you saw Ginobili with the three, followed up by Richard Jefferson with a reverse layup, but Ginobili pulling up, knocking down the three. The Spurs on a 13-7 run. They're much more fluent offensively here to start this third quarter. The Suns are going to have to talk about it as Duncan lays the ball in.
Here's Nash. About 3 minutes gone here in the third quarter. The dice comes out on Nash. Collins is picked up by Ginobili. And Jarrett Collins with the offensive board. That's a timeout. That's exactly what he gets with Ginobili's smothering defense down low. So they take a pause right here.
Back in Phoenix early in the third quarter, the Suns clinging to a 4-point lead. Last two huddles, Alvin Gentry has told us guys, listen, we need to play our pace of the game. Move the ball, get it up court quickly, but let's take smart shots. He said, we're a better team than this, guys. We're taking some dumb shots when we are in transition. Kevin?
All right, Marty.
And what it's led to is 7 fast break points for the San Antonio Spurs, who took advantage of those bad shots. Let's see if they can execute and get a play out of this timeout.
Stoudemire and the dice. Stoudemire 5 of 10. Duncan came over there, gets the block. He's got 2, and this will trigger Tony Parker the other way. Again, Parker starting the second half. Duncan a screen. The weaving Parker.
It's a good move by Greg Popovich to start Tony Parker, because now you've got to make Nash work, and let's see if it takes a little bit of his legs away from him, because now he's got to chase Tony Parker around all those screens.
15 for Parker. 7 of 13 for the night. Here's Richardson, picked up by Jefferson. Shot clock is down to 8.
This is when the Suns get in trouble, right here, when they have to play half-court offense against this Spurs half-court defense. That's why you got to get defensive stops, Kevin. Right now with the Spurs scoring, they're getting their defense back, and Tony Parker is going to work.
So San Antonio is on a 9-0 run, and they have tied the game. They have not led tonight. It's Stoudemire inside. McDyess was defending. It's off of the Phoenix Suns.
And that's all McDyess wants him to do, take tough shots. But watch again, they're screening Steve Nash. He tries to go all the way underneath the screen, and Tony Parker has become so good at that medium-range jump shot. I talked about Chip England a while ago, one of the assistant coaches of the Spurs. He's really worked with Tony Parker on his shooting. 7 of 8, that means the Spurs are taking the ball in out of the basket. They're not running, they're getting in the half court, and now the Spurs are starting to take control.
And Fry has just come in for Jarrett Collins. Pick and roll, Parker to Duncan. Snaps it outside, Ginobili for 3. Good! And San Antonio has their first lead of the game.
Now is when the Suns need poise. Now you're going to feel the angst in this building. This is the last thing the Phoenix Suns fans wanted to see. Now you've got to have poise. You've got to execute.
Fry uncovered for 3. Now 7 consecutive misses for the Phoenix Suns as Parker comes the other way. Parker, by the way, off the bench with 17. Inside Ginobili. Rebound by Stoudemire, clutching on to number 8 with his 11 points. Fry. Richardson for 3.
Isn't it amazing when you get a defensive stop that it leads to a transition three-point? Because now the Spurs are trying to run back and find their own people. That's when the Suns are so good shooting threes.
We said that all season. They're better in transition, throwing up those three-point shots.
Because what happens is if your big runs the floor, a lot of times he's picked up by a smaller player, and then no one is talking. Who is going to get Jason Richardson? They just cannot get there, and that's when the Suns are at their best in the open floor. But to do that, you've got to get defensive stops.
I just picked up his third personal foul. San Antonio shooting 80% here in this third quarter. They've made adjustments on a halftime.
With Parker starting, it's changed the tempo of the game, and again, it's forced Steve Nash to defend Parker, and Ginobili is starting to warm up now as well. He's now 6 of 11. He'd gotten off to a cold start. He has 21. Parker has 17, so those two guards now with 38 points. Still a lot of time to play in this game.
Pick and roll. Parker, Duncan, travel. Into the winner. Much to the surprise of the veteran, Tim Duncan. Look at Alvin Gentry, got some Coach of the Year votes. Eventually went to Scott Brooks of Oklahoma City. Another three, Richardson. That time the close is by Duncan and saved by Jefferson. Here comes Ginobili, and they race the other way by San Antonio. Tim Duncan. Boy, he is money from outside the lane, banking it home and giving the Spurs the lead.
Is that money in the bank, and you could say, right?
11 for Tim Duncan. Parker on Nash. Hand off to Richardson.
Very nice.
And more screening that got him free.
Nash loves to drive down and then sort of wheel back and get guys slashing off to him. A lot of times he'll hand that ball off to Stoudemire. That time it was Jason Richardson.
17 for Richardson on 13 shots tonight. The screen roll. Parker this time finds Jefferson inside. Nick Tice.
Boy, these San Antonio Spurs look like a totally different team offensively in this third quarter. Tony Parker has made a huge difference being out there with the starters. There's that little play I just talked about where Nash drives. This time he drops it off for Amari Stoudemire. It was like a little dribble handoff, and he actually screens the guy that's playing Amari Stoudemire. That's a big money play for them. Nice field goal.
Nash comes up with his 7th assist.
Watch it. Now watch what Nash does. He's going to drive here, little drive, and then watch Jason Richardson. He's going to pass right off his tail to get the handoff for the easy score. Then they run it to the other side for Amari Stoudemire. Back-to-back field goals. We get a tie game.
As we take a look at the Ford driving force, that Popovich Duncan tandem dog has had a lot of postseason success.
It sure has. We see a lot of Phil Jackson up there too. Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. How about Tim Duncan and Pop? Great stars, great coaches. That's 14 championships up there between those two guys.
The big three have keyed on them tonight. They've had great starts to this second half for the game. They've accounted for 49 of San Antonio's 71 points.
Well, the Spurs are 10 of 12 this quarter. So they've outscored the Phoenix Suns by 24 to 14. Their offense has been very efficient, which helped their defense, and right now they're back in this ball game.
George Hill is in for Ginobili. Fry continues to take the place of Collins. One-on-one with Duncan. Richardson grabs the ball. Here comes Stevie Nash. He's got 26.
Let's see if George Hill does a better job here in this period than he did on Nash in the first quarter when Nash had his way.
Pick and roll, Stoudemire. Closing the gap, the San Antonio defense, which has improved greatly in the postseason. The shot clock is down to 6 for Grant Hill. This is over Parker, and the rebound is lassoed by McDyess, who claims his 7th. Grant Hill is on Parker, the screen by Duncan that opens up Tony. Richardson the rebound. Grant Hill. As he was working into Jefferson, McDyess steps out of bounds. Phoenix's ball.
Kevin, it's going to be very interesting here. 4:06 to go in this quarter. Tie game, and you know how Alvin Gentry loves to go to that bench.
Yep.
In that fourth quarter, it's going to be very interesting here if the Suns are behind. How much you trust that bench to start this fourth quarter that's been so good for him? Or does he start getting his bench here in a little early and maybe change a little bit of substitution pattern? So now we're starting to get a little time now where you start coaching ahead to get into that fourth quarter.
Bonner for McDyess and over Bonner. The shot by Nash with 28. Well, we talked about how opposing teams want to make Nash a score. He's got 7 points in this third quarter. 7 assists for Nash in the game. Fry is watching Duncan. Doubled by Nash, who slips. And that means Hill dumps it into Tim. And Tim Duncan, 5 of 10, 13 points. Nash Jefferson knocks it away on a pass intended for Amari Stoudemire. They double Parker. It slides inside, and a foul is called. Duncan, who went right into Grant Hill, who took it.
That's Grant Hill walking. You see him stepping over and taking that charge. Little plays here that change games. Grant Hill gets outside the lane, and you see Duncan run right through him. Duncan thought he had stepped to the side, but took that blow right in the chest. Once again, the nice defensive play by Grant Hill.
Hill is gone. Dudley has come in the game. Nash and Stoudemire. Dudley, Frying, Richardson, the Phoenix 5 off balance. Nash, Parker defending. Steve Nash has put in 30 points, Doug, on 18 shots.
They're trying to take away Amari Stoudemire on that roll, and Nash is keeping the dribble alive and getting that paint and hitting all kinds of floaters.
Parker to 15. Duncan with the rebound. Stoudemire cleans it up. Nash by Jefferson into Bonner. Out to Dudley. Over to Nash and picked up by Bonner. With the mismatch, Steve. Fry for 3.
It's a big stretch for the Phoenix Suns, because if they can get a little bit of a lead, it's going to allow Alvin Gentry to have so much more confidence in that bench. Big 2 minutes and 30 seconds here by both teams.
Fry is at 2 threes. He's got 6. Here comes Parker. Sends it out to Jefferson. Rebound by Stoudemire. He's got 10 with a double-double and 13 points. Nash finds Richardson. What a pass by Steve Nash. What a pace to the game. Richardson's got 19. Parker, Hill, wide open for 3. And volleyball, and an 11th rebound for Stoudemire. A 7-0 run for Phoenix. On the outside, Richardson, 3. Oh! Jefferson in to Dudley. Count it! And it's a foul. Jared Dudley picks it up. What a run after taking a 3-point lead. Phoenix turns it on and recaptures the advantage and goes up 83-75. Dudley picks up number 3.
And Steve Nash right in the middle of everything. You cannot leave Channing Frye. He knocks down the 3. How about this beautiful backdoor by Jason Richardson? Jason Richardson follows it up with a 3. Richardson with 22 points. They have won 10 straight games with him getting 20 points. Let's see if they can make it 11. But Kevin, this spurt here at the end of the quarter, what it means to the Phoenix Suns is so important, with Alvin Gentry now being able to go to that bench.
Bonner, Ginobili, Richardson defending. That's an offensive foul. Ginobili will pick up number 3.
A lot of this happened too when Tony Parker sat down. Now that's not saying it had anything to do with George Hill being on the floor, but when Tony Parker sat down, the Suns have really gone on this big spurt.
You're right. Fry, Stoudemire. Right over player who moments ago checked in for Tim Duncan. And Stoudemire has got 15 points and 11 rebounds. Hill 2 of 5. Shot clock down to 8. Player with the screen. Here comes Bonner off his foot, picked up by Dudley. Here comes Nash. Richardson on the wing. Hill picks up Steve. Spurs have a foul to give. Mismatch. Hill watching Fry. Double team by Ginobili. Off a player and off of San Antonio. 27.9 to play in the 3rd.
Well, you can see the lack of three-point shooting with this Spurs, how it really has hurt them, Kevin. They've lost their spacing, and they're not able to do what they used to do, spread that floor and shoot the threes.
That's a good point.
The Suns have really done a nice job closing and making them shoot those long twos.
For years you talked about that, Doug. A steal by Ginobili. Into Richardson and Stoudemire. Blair comes down hard. Ginobili saves it, launches the uncovered three. Richardson is right there. He's got 22.
That's not a good shot by Ginobili. Should have held that out for the last possession. Let's see if the Phoenix Suns can take advantage.
Richardson. Right into Bonner. Offensive foul called on Jason Richardson. It picks up his second with 0.2 of a second to play here in the third quarter, which has been thrilling.
Well, the Suns finally are getting some defensive stop. The Spurs scored on 10 out of 12 shots. And in this stretch, the Suns defense has triggered their offense. They got into the running game. They hit some threes. They got into the open court. What a brilliant finish.
The Suns close out the quarter on a 12-2 run. They were down by 3.
9 after 3, we get ready to start the fourth quarter with the Verizon Coach's Corner. Marty signed with Alvin Gentry and Tony Parker started the third there, Coach. How much did that change what you had to do?
Well, we had to try to start trapping him a little bit to get the ball out of his hand. You know, we gave up 24 points in the first 7 minutes. Our defense has been good up until that point. We got to get it back. And then we got to get out and run like we did the last 5 minutes of the quarter.
Yeah, nice 12-2 run for you guys. But how much can you really use the bench here in the fourth? You have to stick with the starter?
Well, no, we're going to use our bench. We'll do that. And then we'll get the start of the little rest and get them back in. But our bench has been good for us the whole year. We just got to make sure that we have confidence in it.
Thanks, Alvin.
All right.
Kevin?
Doug Phoenix led by 10 at halftime. They lead by 10 at the end of 3.
Well, I just think that big spurt there at the end of that period really gives Alvin a chance now to play his bench with a 10-point lead. If it were tied or a 2-point game, you might not be as confident, but right now he could go with his team that has been so good for him. I like he's kept Amari Stoudemire on the floor to go with 4 bench players so he has some scoring.
Barbosa being one of them, Dudley being another, a 3. Amundsen is in there working on Bogans. Dragic is the 5th San Antonio, the 5th Phoenix Suns player on the floor. Foul goes on Keith Bogans, who picks it up. He's out there with Mason and Ginobili and Blair and George Hill. That sets the lamps to begin the fourth quarter here in Phoenix. Dragic finds Amari Stoudemire. Works on Blair. Oh, nice fake. Nice fake. What a move by Amari Stoudemire with 17.
That's why I love what Alvin's done. He's got Amari out there that you know when he's got 3-point shooting. I don't know they have anybody out there that can handle it. Juan Blair cannot handle Amari Stoudemire on the post as we saw in that last move.
They double. Deflected play by the man up front, Amundsen. Here comes Dragic. Stoudemire and Blair adjusting for position. That's a foul. It's going to be called on Juan Blair, who picks up his second personal foul for San Antonio.
I love you turn in your face, use that speed, the little pump fake. Beautiful footwork for Amari Stoudemire, playing brilliant basketball right now. 17 points, more importantly, 11 rebounds. Did not rebound well in that Portland series. Actually was the 3rd leading rebounder behind Hill and Jason Richardson. So they need his rebounding tonight. He has come through.
Ginobili. Roger Mason Jr. picked up by Barbosa. They got a cross matchup now. That's a defensive 3-second violation. So Blair is watching Stoudemire in one hand. At the other end, Blair is picked up by Jared Ledler in the cross.
And you can see what Greg Popovich is doing. He's really gone to 4 guards and Blair out there right now. And he's trying to get some 3-point shooting. Mason, one of their better 3-point shooters. Ginobili misses the free throw. And Greg Popovich trying to space his floor a little bit. Maybe go to a smaller lineup. Find some 3-point shooting, but his problem right now is going to be able to try to defend Amari Stoudemire.
San Antonio, by the way, from the free throw line, plus 11 points tonight over Phoenix. George Hill. Mason defending with Stoudemire. Saved by Dudley, picked up by Dragic. 3-on-2. Stoudemire. Hit by Mason, who picks up the San Antonio foul. 10:20 to play in the fourth and the second on Roger Mason Jr.
You know, I think when I look at the Spurs numbers, they have shot 26 free throws. If I'm not mistaken, they had shot 22 at halftime. So Alvin Gentry talked to his team about too much fouling, and they've done a much better job. Only 4 free throw attempts here in the second half for the San Antonio Spurs.
Stoudemire 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Amazing as being here. Season tickets for the 2010-11 season are on sale right now. Go to NBA.com/tickets to reserve your seats. The NBA, where amazing happens. Now the Suns on top by 14, Coach. This is their biggest lead of the night.
When they have those little defensive surges, it triggers so much offense for them, and we saw how explosive they are. See if the Spurs can knock down a three. That's a big shot by Bogans.
Keith Bogans, picked up in the offseason, known for his defense and his three-point shooting. Buries one right there, under 10 to play in the fourth quarter.
I think Alvin Gentry wants them to look at that to see if that's a three or not. We'll see if they have a stoppage to play. If they do that, it's going to be a walk on Amari Stoudemire.
And 13 turnovers now for Alvin Gentry's Phoenix Suns.
Take a look here and see. It looked like Alvin Gentry said something to Bennett Salvatore. Bennett ruled it a three, and then when I looked like at Alvin, looked like he wanted Bennett to take a look at that to see if that was a three or not.
Ginobili is 6 of 13. Lasers it inside for Bogans, who got around two. Amundsen and Dragic defensively for Phoenix.
Keith Bogan's a very strong player, known for his defense, but did a nice job that time. He screened and then slid right underneath the basket for the easy score. The Suns do not want to fall asleep here after having a 14-point lead.
Amundsen a rugged spinner. They switch on defense. Blair is on Dragic. He deflects the shot, picked up by Dudley. Shot clock at 2. Dragic. Oh! How about that?
How about Amundsen and Dudley, the hustle to give them that opportunity, and Dragic understanding the shot clock gets the score. That is the energy that this second unit brings for Alvin Gentry and the Suns.
Dragic with 4. Ginobili for 3. Dragic defending. Grant Hill is back in the game. Taking the place of Stoudemire. Boy, now they're really small out there, Phoenix is. Barbosa works on Hill. Slides by Blair. His first step is going to be as fast and as quick tug as any in the NBA.
Well, both teams have gone to small ball, but sometimes it's the extra possession. Dudley finds the loose ball. He gets it to Amundsen, who gets it to Dragic, who beats the shot clock, puts his team back up 11.
As Blair picks up his third and a timeout in Phoenix.
So we're in periods of the game where it's close and, you know, the last 5 minutes, we're in huddles talking about let's get stops. Let's get 3-4 stops in a row and separate ourselves and get this win. And that's not something that we've talked about, you know, in years past. So I think the main thing is that we have toughness, we have grit, and we know how to play defense.
Doug, they took the timeout after San Antonio had a very good start to the second half.
Well, the Spurs had made 10 of their first 12 shots in the third quarter. They took that timeout. We went on the run, and the way they did it, 4 of 14 for the Spurs. So that's exactly what Grant Hill was talking about. Get some defensive stops. You see what they have done as the season has gone on after the All-Star break. Their opponents 44% the first round against Portland. They shoot 43%, score only 93 points. And here tonight, the San Antonio Spurs are now shooting 47% from the floor. They got up over 53% at one point in time when they had that little spurt. But Kevin, with all the said and done and stuff, it's still only going to be about a 12, 13-point game here. Still plenty of time. The Suns have got to stay up with their defense because the Spurs can attack quickly.
What a pace to this game.
23 fast break points right now for the Phoenix Suns. I'm not sure that when Greg Popovich sees that, he's going to be happy with that transition defense. We talked about that being a real key in this series.
Ginobili and Hill, Bogans, Duncan is in for Blair. Mason screened by Duncan, wide open 3 by Roger Mason. Fry is in the game, and he picks it up and gives to Barbosa. The Suns started the second half 4 of 12.
Well, now they're 10 of 15 because their defense has created offense. They got out in the fast break. They got those easy scores. When the Spurs were scoring, they got into a half-court game and could not score. So that's the importance, Kevin, of efficient offense and what it leads to you defensively. And when you stop scoring, it opens you up for teams to be able to run out and get easy scores against you. That's why teams want to push tempo and not have to play in a half-court game.
Mason picks up his third. Stoudemire is resting with 19 points and 11 rebounds. Amundsen at the free throw line. And the penalty at 8-10. With Phoenix on top by 13, their lead is bulged as high as 14. He equals it right there. TBS in June. From executive producer Ice Cube comes a brand new sitcom about one family's journey to get there. Are we there yet? A brand new series It premieres June 2nd at 9, 8 Central, only on TBS. Mason comes up with it. Approaching 8 to play here in the fourth. Screen by Duncan. Hill fights his way through. You mentioned this earlier about Grant Hill. He's not just content guarding one guy. He's got to guard the entire floor for the Suns.
Well, let's see what he does now. He's been guarding Ginobili. Parker is coming in the game. Let's see if Grant Hill goes over to Parker. They're going to leave Parker closer on him. So when Nash comes back in the game, now they've got Dragic on Tony Parker. I like that matchup. So now you keep Grant Hill on Mountain Ginobili. Try to keep him calm down a little bit because he went through that spurt where he scored about 7 or 8 points in a hurry.
Parker's come in for Mason for San Antonio. Dudley has come in for Robinson for Phoenix. Shot clock is at 7 for Tim Duncan, picked up by Fry. Hill will come over and try to help Fry. There's some nice defense inside for the Phoenix Suns, and Dragic's the other way.
Channing Frye actually did a pretty good job in the first round on LaMarcus Aldridge, so his defense is a big plus right now.
Barbosa into Duncan with the screen by Fry and picked up by Ginobili, who gets the rebound. Hill is there. Duncan has screened the double on Ginobili. Duncan and Fry. Dudley was in there trying to hedge. Fry picks up the foul. Assessed his 4th personal.
What they're doing with Duncan, they don't want to double team him when he catches the ball, Kevin. So what they're doing is they're waiting for him to start his move, and then they're digging down from the top. You talked about Dudley digging down there, and then when Duncan saw that happening, he took the ball and he tried to get into the shooting motion. And watch what happens there. They're going to throw the ball in the post. And watch Dudley now. He doesn't go anywhere. Now watch when he starts bouncing the ball. That's when he's going to dig down and just try to fake at him and force him to try to make a play on the dribble. They're going to say now that he is not in the act of shooting, and they will take the ball sideline out of bounds.
Ginobili into Duncan. Great pass by Manu Ginobili on top. He comes up with his 5th assist. And Tim Duncan's got 15 points and 8 rebounds.
It's small ball right now for the Spurs. It's 4 guards and Duncan.
Dragic weaving through all those players. Mismatch against Duncan. Shot clock at 9. Dragic. Rebound by Duncan. Ginobili was leaking early. Here comes Hill, and Manu slides in for 2. Ginobili has got a San Antonio high 23 points. 10-point game. Dragic for 3.
They don't need that shot right there. They're leading for another run out for the Spurs. If they score here, look for Alvin to get a timeout.
Parker. Bogans. Dudley's on Parker. Dragic is on Bogans. Fry is watching Duncan. Now the switch. Dudley now goes on Parker. Tony Parker just makes things happen every time he comes in. You called it, Doug. Here's a timeout by Gentry. With a nice runner right there inside by Tony Parker. 19 points on 17 shots.
Well, Alan Gentry giving Channing Frye an earful on this play. Felt like he's been back there helping. Did not get back into the play. The Spurs now on a 6-0 run. Alvin not happy. The Spurs are not going to go away. The Phoenix
Hall of Famer Doug Collins, Kevin Harlan, you see our score. It was 14, now it's down to 8. Doug, there are a lot of demons associated with the Suns and Spurs for Suns fans in this series.
Yeah, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, what bad can happen. Right. And that's why I think this next couple minutes for the Suns is very, very important. The Spurs have cut that 14-point lead down to 8 in a 2-minute period of time. Steve Nash back in the game, Jason Richardson, those guys have combined for 52 points. Let's see if the Suns can find a field goal on this possession.
Suns haven't scored from the field in over 3 minutes. Here's Nash. Ginobili knocks it away and picked up by Tony Parker. Ahead to Hill and to Stoudemire. Duncan puts it back up and in with 17. Tim Duncan. Nash has got 5 turnovers, Coach.
Well, that's what he's been struggling with here in the last few games. See if he can knock down a shot. He misses the 3, and here comes the Spurs. And once again, against small ball, they have 4 smalls out there with Tim Duncan. It's going to be middle screen roll and attack.
We called it Duncan inside. Stoudemire reaching in. Amari picks up the foul. That's number 3 on him. Just finishing up on some of the new players. You mentioned Nash is back in. He sat out for 20 minutes of real time. And the Suns were -2, Doug, in the category while he was resting.
But you see what's happening now. The momentum has swung to the San Antonio Spurs. I talked about Duncan's free throw shooting, 49% against Dallas. Let's see how he walks up to the line to shoot these two. Critical time right now. You got to make free throws when you're trying to play in from behind, and you see what Tim Duncan did. I talked about it's 49%. Tonight he is 3 for 8.
San Antonio. Aaron Nash. Duncan and Stoudemire. Hill and Ginobili. Richardson and Hill. Shot clock at 9. Sticking. Screen by Stoudemire. Switch with Duncan. Nash sliding in. Ginobili may have knocked it away, and he did with this defense. And here comes Parker. Ginobili. Bogans. Duncan, with a great twirling move and terrific passing by San Antonio. And Tim Duncan's got 27 coming, Doug, in this fourth quarter.
How about the spacing on the floor, though? They have the four guards outside the three-point line, and Duncan working the paint.
Richardson guarded by Hill. Duncan and Stoudemire waging war on the block. Amari, the dive, the foul. Duncan. Ginobili was in there. Duncan is slow. Mega Bogans is slow to get up.
I think what they're going to rule here, did he catch that ball in the lower area? If he did, you can, as a secondary defender, come over and take the charge. So let's see what we're going to talk about here. But if he caught that ball in that lower quadrant, your secondary defender can take a charge in the restricted area. I think you're going to change this call.
It's going to be San Antonio's ball.
See, he catches the ball in that lower quadrant, and your secondary defender can take a charge in the restricted area. See where Amari catches that ball. So when Bogans comes over, his feet are in the area, and he can take that charge there. So the referees got together, and now the Spurs have the ball once again.
Stoudemire's got his fourth foul. Moving inside. Ginobili comes up. Just 10 minutes ago, if it gets down to a close game, and it is right now, Phoenix on top by 1. The drive by Stoudemire, the foul on San Antonio. Bogans coming across him as Amari was flying inside with 4:20 to play. Bogans picks up number 2.
See, this is the concern of the Phoenix Suns. When you play the Spurs, you're playing this championship pedigree. 4 championships from Tim Duncan, 3 for Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. Spurs on a 13-0 run here. Now it's going to be important for Amari Stoudemire to stem the tide here and knock in a couple of these free throws.
Doug, 4 minutes ago, it was a 14-point lead for the Phoenix Suns, 94-80.
And this is what happens in series. You know, Greg Popovich could not find a group that he liked. All of a sudden, he goes to the bench to Bogans. He puts Hill out there with Parker and Ginobili and plays 4 around 1. Duncan just sort of working the middle. And it has worked beautifully here for the Spurs to get themselves back in this game.
Ginobili, Parker, Duncan, Hill, and Bogans for San Antonio. Bogans from Duncan over Richardson. Duncan gets it. Parker, Ginobili. Parker along, 2 over Richardson. Rebound by Amari Stoudemire, number 12, with his 21 points. And here comes Steve Nash. He's got 30. Suns in this fourth quarter, coach, 2 of 10, 3 turnovers. Screen by Stoudemire. Hill into Bogans. And a foul. Keith Bogans will pick it up the clock at 3:38 to play. Number 3 on Bogans of the San Antonio Spurs. And with Hill at the free throw line and a contemplative Greg Popovich, we can tell you the national TV schedule looks this way. TNT tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Atlanta, Orlando, and Utah and the Lakers. ESPN Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Atlanta, Orlando, game 2. And then ABC this weekend. On Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern time, the Lakers and Utah. Some big free throws for Hill, coach. And at the line tonight, 2 of 3 now with that hit.
Well, you start seeing the matchups now. Roger Mason is coming into the game. He's coming in for Bogans. He's going to give you better three-point shooting. Bogans gives you a little more toughness and size. And then Alvin Gentry comes in with Jared Dudley for Channing Frye, feeling he needs a little bit more defense on the perimeter because the Spurs have gone to a small lineup. So you're starting to see these coaches match up with one another. And they're going to have a little timeout here as the Suns are going to talk about it, up by 4.
Gotta keep the pace of the game up. We're doing a good job. Just keep the pace of the game up. Guys, we gotta play every play. Hey, he made a hustle play and the other guys didn't hustle down. We gotta, every play, we gotta be the play.
That was 2 huddles ago. Alvin Gentry talking to his Phoenix Suns team. In this huddle, he said, guys, all I need from you is 3.5 minutes. I promise you, we're going to make a name for ourselves in playing defense. Then he pointed at Amari Stoudemire and said, it's got to start with you. You've got to slow down Tim. He's the one really killing us. Speaking of Tim Duncan, Kevin.
Thank you, Marty. They are the #1 offense in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns. But as Marty says, defense now has got to be their calling card, up by 4, 3.5 left in regulation. Activity and movement, Doug. That's been kind of the key word most of this season, especially the second half of the season for this Phoenix team.
Well, that's what you have to do, Kevin. To be a good offensive team, you've got to have good spacing. You have player movement, ball movement. The ball, you find the open man side to side. And that's when any offensive team is at their best. Let's see what Greg Popovich is going to get coming out of this timeout. Richard Jefferson back in the game after being on the bench for a long time. Jefferson comes in for Mason. The switch on defense. Here comes Ginobili. It's just Dudley defending. It's Tony Parker. Shot clock is down to 7. Working on Richardson. Tony Parker. Parker, Doug, off the bench in the beginning of the game. Starting the second half, has 21 points on 19 shots. Stoudemire and Duncan. What a shot. Woo. Wow, just a missile job that time. Duncan had his hand, looked like all over the ball, and Stoudemire just willed that shot in. What a great play. That's the first hit. 3-point line. Jefferson is not comfortable shooting the 3, so he's in a long 2, which makes rotation a lot easier to be able to help on the screen roll and get back to that guy in the corner who's looking to shoot a long 2 instead of a 3. Jefferson only 1 of 4 in the playoffs, including the first round. Here is Parker. Duncan. Ginobili, shot clock at 4, defending Richardson. Rebound by Stoudemire. He's got 13 rebounds and 23 points. Well, there's that some of the defense that Alvin Gentry wanted. That was a very good possession for the Suns. Nash, Dudley, Grant Hill. Parker with the rebound. Into Dudley. Oh, and then a rebound for San Antonio. Richardson easily gets it for number 5 in that category for him. Yeah, fortunate that time for the Phoenix Suns because Parker got right on top of the basket, missed a pretty easy shot. Ginobili's on Nash. Look at the spacing of the Suns, all behind the 3-point line. Good point. This is Nash. It is a foul. It's on Steve Nash. It is his 3rd personal foul. Playing with a bad right hip. Looks pretty spry tonight in 35 minutes, 30 points. Ginobili. Phoenix has a foul to give. This is Hill from outside. Dudley with the rebound. George Hill 2 of 7. Now those are the 3s he hit against Dallas. He hit those big 3s against Dallas tonight. It just wasn't there for him. They're shooting in the 4th quarter. Nash, Hill, Richardson for 3. This is their favorite play. They call this short. It's a screen roll. They throw it to Grant Hill. He finds opposite side. That's either Channing Frye or Jason Richardson. This time it's Jason Richardson, the X factor. He has 25. The last 10 times he's done that, they have won. Is he going to make it? We're back in Phoenix, Arizona, revisiting the cold, hard facts presented by Coors Light. Well, we talked about the Suns winning this game tonight for their psyche, what it would do. Looks like they're going to protect home court here tonight. Pace of the game, 30-point quarters tonight. They get off to a great start. Steve Nash, 31 in that that first quarter for the Suns. How about the screen roll game? So Amari Stoudemire, 23 points, 16 in the paint. Nash has 30, 10 to 6. He has 16 in the paint. And then the X factor, Jason Richardson with that big three. Will that be enough to close it out?
Like you said, 10 straight. When he's at that mark, Doug, you're all over it. Closing out quarters has been important, too, for the Suns in this game. Second quarter, they were +6. Third quarter, they were +10. So far, they're +7 in the fourth. You can see the run in over 3 minutes. Dudley watching Parker. Hill is all over Ginobili. A screen. Parker finds it. Duncan drives inside with a Phoenix foul. 1:11 to play. Stoudemire was in there as the line of defense and picks up his 5th. Stoudemire, Hill, Dudley, and Richardson, the Phoenix 5. Duncan, Ginobili, Hill, Parker, and Jefferson, the San Antonio Spurs 5. Tony Parker will be at the free throw line. And Doug tonight, 101, 21 points overall and 20 shots.
Well, again, this will only be the 7th and 8th free throw of the second half for the San Antonio Spurs. Alvin Gentry told his team they were fouling too much at halftime. They've made the adjustments. We talk about the Phoenix Suns and their shooting. When they shoot 45% or better in the playoffs, they continue to win tonight. They're going to be 5-0 as tonight they're shooting over 50%. They're the #1 shooting team in the league, #1 behind the three-point line. They're a great free throw shooting team, so when they play good defense, the way they shoot the ball, they are very tough to beat.
That was a historic three-point percentage, too, this season. Second best ever. 41, as you mentioned. And here's Nash. Parker, defending. Screened by Stoudemire. Parker sticks right with it. Shot clock is down to 6. This is Jefferson on Hill. Grant Hill puts in his first field goal since 11:28 left in the first quarter. He hit the first field goal of the game for the Phoenix Suns. A big one right there. Duncan a screen. Ginobili driving inside. Hill was taken out. Ginobili flies inside, and he's got 27 to lead San Antonio. Nash behind him was Hill, who draws the foul. He's got 4.
And you foul Steve Nash, you might as well give him 2 points because he's a 90% shooter. But look at Grant Hill gets hit with a screen by Tim Duncan. Ginobili gets all the way to the paint. But again, Kevin, the spacing on the floor for the Spurs is so different. They do not have that three-point shooting. Used to be Bruce Bowen out there knocking down shots, Robert Horry, some of these guys shooting those threes, and they are not nearly as good a three-point shooting team, so their spacing isn't quite as good on the floor, and you can help a little bit more on Duncan and get back.
They'll be back here on Wednesday for Game 2. Game 3 will be on ESPN. Doug and I will be in San Antonio on Mother's Day. It takes you through the first 4 games. Nash again. Steve Nash, 32 points, 10 assists, 4 of 4 from the line in 36 minutes. Parker, the acceleration. Foul! Count it. He'll go to the line. Tony Parker, 25 points. He and Nash have put on an outstanding offensive show tonight.
And the big question to me is going to be, as we see Tony Parker go away from the screen and reject it, they call the pushing foul there on Jason Richardson. Looked like he might have just pushed him. See if he gets his hand right there on his hip just a little bit. And the foul call, but will Greg Popovich start Tony Parker in Game 2? Will we see that adjustment to help get them maybe off to a better start? George Hill did not have a good game tonight against Steve Nash to start the game. Nash got off to a great start on all those pick and rolls, so as the chess game will start here in the playoffs, once you lose the game, you start trying to make some different decisions, and we'll see what Pop's going to do for Game 2.
Parker has 9 in the quarter for San Antonio, trailing by 5. Half-minute in regulation. Phoenix on top by 5. They've led by as many as 14. Coming up next inside the NBA, EJ, the Jet, Sir Charles. Analysis and post-game reaction from tonight's 2 playoff games. And tomorrow night, playoff action continues on TNT. Atlanta, Orlando, Game 1. Utah, Lakers, Game 2. Coverage 8 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah, just because something worked in the first series doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be carried over to the second.
No, you got to make adjustments based on personnel. Ginobili's going to trip Nash. He's going to go down, and he'll pop up and shoot his 2 free throws. But that's how every series changes. You know, you had in the first series, you had a Dirk Nowitzki, and what you had to do with a guy like that, you didn't see as much screen roll with a Jason Kidd as you're seeing with Steve Nash. As I said before, when this series is over, the team that is going to be able to do the best job with their screen roll defense, with either corralling Steve Nash, with Amari Stoudemire rolling and those three-point shooting, and for the Suns, you've got Ginobili, you've got Parker running off Duncan, all those screens. Whichever team can find a way to play the screen roll the best, I think is going to win this series. It's just a big win here tonight for the Suns if they can hold on. Just for their psyche, Kevin, to win game one. The last two times they've had home court against the Spurs and had the better record, the Spurs have won game one and gone on to win the series.
In the regular season, Phoenix beat San Antonio 2 out of 3 times. Nash hits the back end of 2. The lead is 6. Timeout San Antonio. Suns went into the penalty at 8-10. They've gone 12 of 14 from the free throw line in the pressure-packed fourth quarter tonight. Doug, in that first series for the San Antonio Spurs, they faced Jason Kidd. Now in this series, they've got Steve Nash. Pretty daunting task for even an experienced team like the San Antonio Spurs.
Well, you know, we heard Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith, Ernie Johnson talking tonight to Chris Paul in the studio. And it's how this is a point guard-driven league now. And you can see tonight Steve Nash, the impact he's had on his team. Tony Parker, when he came in, the minutes he's played. 2 brilliant point guards here tonight in a league full of great point guards.
George Hill has 9. Stoudemire knocks it out of bounds. 19 seconds on the shot clock, and you see just under 24 to play in regulation. Boy, Popovich is so good at matchups. I'll be dying to see what he does for game 2. How he'll change things up and the adjustments he'll make.
Well, remember they lost game 1 in Dallas, and he told me we had reading a lot of stuff. He said, I had guys play like a bunch of dogs tonight. Those guys came out and played a lot better in game 2 and 1 to steal the home court.
Well, the three-point shot, Dog, has disappeared for San Antonio in this fourth quarter. 1 of 8 from beyond the arc for the Spurs in the fourth. The fans to their feet. They can smell a win. You've said it all night as the foul goes on McDyess for the second time. The psyche of the team, the psyche of the fans, battling the demons from playoffs past between these two franchises.
Now, if you're the Phoenix Suns, you say you got to get real greedy and you got to hold home court, get a decisive 2-0 lead. And if you're the San Antonio Spurs, you know you're coming in game 2 to try to get a split and go home. And if you've done that, regardless of what's happened here tonight, you're the Spurs, you go home with the home court. You have to feel very good about yourself. They just went home in the last series, beat the Dallas Mavericks, who had the best road record in the NBA. And the Mavs were not able to beat them on their court. So that's why it's so important for the Phoenix Suns to hold home court.
Tony Parker racing the other way for the San Antonio Spurs. This is a Hill 3. Nash defending. Manu Ginobili cannot get it in. Dudley has the ball. Foul called on Ginobili. Just under 8 to play. Well, the 100-point mark, too, has been a line of demarcation for San Antonio. When they've held their opponents in this postseason under 100, they've won. When they've allowed them more than 100, they've lost.
That's that pace of the game that we talk about. And I think when Greg Popovich looks at it as transition defense, we talked about that, Kevin. 27 fast break points tonight for the Phoenix Suns. I just don't think you're going to be able to give them that many fast break points. And I think Greg Popovich will go back with his coaches. They're going to look at this, figure where some of those points came. But a big part of those came in that one run, Kevin, when the Spurs had taken that 3-point lead and the Suns went on that run to push it to a 10-point game. Most of that was done in transition, shooting threes and getting to the basket and getting some easy baskets.
It's Parker. Hill. The Phoenix Suns will go up 1-0 over San Antonio as Popovich waves to his former assistant Alvin Gentry, now the head coach of Phoenix. Tim Duncan tonight, 8 of 15 with 20 points and 11 rebounds. Ginobili had 27 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Amari Stoudemire tonight with 23. Richardson had 27. They are standing by with our Marty Snyder.
Yeah, isn't that amazing, Kevin? 50 points for the Suns between these two guys. Amari, I don't know how many times you guys were up 14. They made several runs, but every time you staved it off. How did you guys do that?
Yeah, well, we played great defense out there. You know, I think we get a few stops, we're able to get into our offense a lot faster. We got it going offensively. Defensively, we did a phenomenal job out there. So I think that's why we kept the lead.
How many times did Alvin preach pace and also defense in huddles tonight? I lost count.
Yeah, that was the method tonight. You know, keeping our pace offensively and make sure we get stops defensively, rebounding the ball, keeping those guys off the boards was another key for us.
Jason, a huge three for you late in the game. How big was this first game win for the psyche for the Suns team?
It was huge for us. Coming in here, we got a home court advantage. We want to keep that. We can't let them get away with a home court win here.
Their small ball really seemed to hurt you guys. Would you be surprised if Tony Parker doesn't start in game 2?
Yeah, it really hurt us. We got to find a way to slow him and Manu down. They did a great job, but we came back and got some stops at the end.
All right, half a century points for these guys tonight, Kevin.
They shot 52% from the field. They had 9 more points beyond the three-point arc. They out-rebounded San Antonio tonight, Doug. A terrific game 1.
Yeah, I can't wait for game 2 because the Spurs know they got to come in here and find a way to get a split.
We'll see you Wednesday. Our producer, Scott Cockrell. Our director, Lonnie Dale. Our associate directors, Bert Bondi and Lori Brooks. Special thanks to Jeff Paris, Sammy Polis, and Pat McGrath. Kevin Harlan for Doug Collins and Marty Snyder saying goodnight from Phoenix, sending you to Atlanta and inside the NBA with Ernie Johnson.
Inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai. Always worth the wait because you get to hear from the experts. Charles
Only
Barkley,
guy's an expert, Ernie.
Kenny the Jet Smith on Game 1 between the Spurs and the Suns, and on Game 2 between the Celtics and the Cavs.
Who's an expert? God, only God.
All the highlights
I made in his liking.
and all the post-game. You are, as a matter of fact. You're Chuck too.